Charles, up and away in the Chinese weather balloon. How you doing?
How did you manage to get a track of Hunter Biden singing in the shower to his FaceTime associate?
Well, it was our, the crack research team is dialed into all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, Charles, this Chinese balloon, it's pretty strange to me because the weirdest part is it was over Billings, Montana, and it's a balloon, and then somehow it made it all the way to the East Coast, but they've been totally ignoring this lady who recorded on her phone what looked like a balloon being exploded and falling out of the sky. They said, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is just further testament to the ironclad truth that the powers that be can shape narratives, and they
Right.
can cause you to believe something that is actually false is you will think it's true when it's not true. Um, this whole drama of the balloon, I mean, we should be a lot more concerned, I think, about the degree to which the Chinese have been accessing our secrets by infiltrating our campuses, our corporations, our police stations, the internet, utility systems, etc. Maybe that some damage was done by this balloon. Maybe it looks bad that it took so long for us to react in the way we did. Maybe we overreacted. Maybe we underreacted. Who knows? But we should be a lot more concerned about the fact that Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese spy driving her to and fro her many mansions for something
Right.
like 20 years, and somebody had a meme on this balloon that said, uh, bang, bang went fang, fang or something like that. I mean, what about,
I
what
think
about
Marjorie
Eric
Taylor
Swalwell?
Greene, yeah, she got into some hot water for posting some sort of a Fang Fang balloon meme. But, Charles, I want to make sure that people know that in order to discuss this balloon and the other various effed up aspects of Joe Biden's, certainly the most idiotic presidency ever, I would say. And of course, today we're using this graphic from the Disney Pixar classic Up, which is about an old guy who, you know what? I forget exactly the details of this movie. This movie, Charles, I don't know if you know this. This was, I believe, the first 3D movie to ever open the Cannes Film Festival. And that was where I first saw it. I don't really remember the details other than this old guy somehow floats his house away with balloons. In our version, it's dumb Joe Biden and his buddy here, floating a balloon all over the damn place before anybody did anything. This is a pretty high resolution image of it. People have said these are solar panels. I don't think they really know what was going on with this balloon. And of course, rather than research it, they just blew it up. I personally would have preferred to try to capture the thing and understand what it was doing. I understand now it's either in the ocean or maybe who knows what.
Well, who is that dog?
Uh,
Is that
that
Buttigieg?
Yeah, that's just the dog in the movie. The guy's dog can talk.
uh,
So that's the one aspect of the original poster that I kept as part of the parody image. But before we begin, Charles, I want everybody to know that in order to speak freely about this stuff, unfortunately, YouTube has become, all this stuff that we talk about is verboten. It's really worse than maybe some of the other authoritarian regimes we've heard about historically. But we're going to be in the First Amendment Forum in less than 15 minutes. People can join us on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and my new favorite, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. People can watch the simulcasts on there and also become members and sponsor the show while accessing the sponsor exclusive content. I'm getting a lot of excellent feedback from our Odyssey viewers, Charles. People really like it. Great search engine on there, and you're not beholden to Google or anything like that. But the other thing I wanted to let people know about is that recently a malicious social engineering attack took out Crowdsource the Truth 7, and a lot of people are watching us on Crowdsource the Truth 8 or on the Sunday with Charles YouTube channel. I've also recently created the Crowdsource the Truth 9 channel, so I think people get the system at this point. If you're not seeing it on Crowdsource the Truth 7, or that is otherwise obliterated, just go to the next highest number and it's likely to be there.
Yeah, it's good to know. It's good to know. It's quite a, the art department has outdone itself with this poster, but the suite of posters and the suite of shows and the thumbnails, uh, it's such a pity that we can't have them all in one place, going back from, sequentially and then ranked by or maybe by topic or whatever. But since you say Odyssey has a good search feature on that site, maybe if we put some of these historical shows back up on Odyssey, that'll be helpful.
Yeah. Well, I have done my best to do that, and I will continue to do that. So people who have joined on Odyssey can search this content section here with the search window. And if you just put in Charles, it's going to bring up a ton of videos. And yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate, Charles. I agree, because, since I was a very small child, I have enjoyed creating things, whether it's drawings or, Lego models or whatever. And there are some despicable people in the world who are so wretched that they can only get attention by destroying things and, making other people miserable. I think it's because they themselves are miserable and nobody on earth cares about them. The planet will improve when the people I'm talking about are dead and buried and no longer around to bother us. For now, they can sit around smelling their own farts inside an RV while they try to destroy what we're doing here. But it's enough about that. You've prepared a ton of material for us to go over. Why don't we at least start telling people what they can expect to hear on the First Amendment Forum when the sponsor exclusive segment starts?
Sure. We're going to go into a number of stories that we want to comment upon, but a general theme is when chiefly politicians or academics or pundits start talking about public-private partnerships, that's where your mind needs to say public-private partnerships are fraud and corruption. That's what you're talking about. And we see this in particular in the IRS, the Department of Justice, and the FBI, where people who land inside those departments or agencies, there are some honest people, but there are too many people who take a look at what they find and say, I'd be a lot more valuable as a partner in a law firm, as a partner in a Teneo, as so working inside a hedge fund or some other investment firm. And I will, because I have access to all this secrets and information and about involving people coming chiefly to New York City to try to do their dirty deals around the UN, I'm going to not be able to resist temptation, and I'm going to put together a good collection of contacts. Before long, I'm going to be collecting money and building up a huge war chest so I can support my lifestyle, my mistresses, and my family, and whatever. That seems to be what this Charles McGonigal is alleged was doing. And there's this New York Times story is rather in depth. Kudos to the New York Times for finally doing some investigative journalistic work. But I suspect there are quite a few crooked people in the FBI and they're at the senior most levels.
I agree with that, Charles. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to ask, has anybody made any kind of assessment of how this McGonigal arrest, how does this compare to like Robert Hansen, who I think is sort of generally regarded as the worst FBI, counter or whatever, double agent? Any idea?
I don't know which is worst. You see, what we see, a lot of these privatization projects that we talked about in the very beginning of our collaboration back in 2017, this process by which assets owned by a government are sold or put into new companies controlled by seedy executives and investment firms is a project that has created many billionaires around the planet of many different nationalities, including American billionaires. And this is a process which is completely unregulated, it seems. The Department of Justice gets a few people, the IRS gets a few people, but given the tools, think of the tools that are used to tamp down your videos, our videos.
Unbelievable.
Think of what you could do if you were determined with these tools to actually find the crooks.
Right.
It wouldn't be terribly difficult. Take, for example, you want to root out fraud in multinational companies. Wouldn't a simple place to start be with a Donny Group, for example? You've got this collection of assets that's worth $300 billion, and the auditing firm is 11 Indian people in some small town in the backwater of India, many of them in their 20s. Shouldn't that be a red flag that you just use as a template? You say, all right, let's go down the Forbes or the Bloomberg billionaire list, and let's look at the audits for each of the main companies of these. And many of these firms have raised money in this country. So why isn't the FBI, DOJ, IRS, SEC, why aren't they doing the work that this independent firm Hindenburg had to do to expose Adani? For that matter, why didn't they do the work that I did on GE? And why haven't they pursued GE to its logical conclusion? Now, don't go lecturing the rest of the world about how the U.S. is a system of law and order and the rest of the world is corrupt. When we have a team at the FBI that wants to erect a building twice the size of the Pentagon, think of that, twice the size of the Pentagon, which is pretty big, and the workforce in the FBI, in quotes, the workforce, is a tiny fraction of the many people in the Pentagon. Why does the FBI need a headquarters building twice the size of the Pentagon, which is, in theory, a pretty big building?
Wow, I hadn't heard about that. So,
yeah.
I think the FBI needs to be put out of business due to them doing nothing other than corruption, apparently. But wow, look at that. Planned new FBI HQ is twice the size of the Pentagon. Wow.
It's preposterous.
It is.
Absolutely preposterous.
Unbelievable.
I mean, particularly given that the FBI in the past, let's say prior to 1994, maybe they had use of DARPANET or something like it, but they certainly didn't have the benefits of the advances in technology, which allow all of us to absorb and process massive amounts of information very quickly and efficiently. Why would you today say that you want to double something twice the size of the Pentagon? Why not give them the whole state of Montana? I mean,
they could shoot down balloons more easily if they had that.
Isn't there a place in like upstate New York called Legoland?
There's like a theme park in California.
Also in New York, I think it's a new one in like Newburgh or something.
Maybe.
But put James Comey Legoland FBI headquarters.
Yeah, he should. Oh, they have a lot of them. Oh, you're right. New York, Florida, Dubai, water park, Malaysia, Legoland, Malaysia. Charles, what could go wrong? I've never been to Legoland, but I'm sure James Comey would be popular there. They should make a giant Lego Hulkbuster.
He's probably too tall to get on the rides.
That's true. That's interesting. They got a lot of Lego stuff going on there. Well, Charles, we're almost out of time here. Here's a Lego Peppa Pig. But it's not Lego. Interesting. Well, we're almost out of time here, but we're going to continue the show in the First Amendment Forum in just more than 5 minutes. Anything else you wanted to share with our YouTube viewers before we make that transition?
Well, if you want to save a lot of time tonight, you don't need to watch the Grammys because that's going to be an S show, I'm sure. And Tuesday, if you want to save yourself a lot of aggravation or alternatively play a drinking game, you can not watch the State of the Disunion with Joe Biden on Tuesday night because that's going to be that's already a train wreck.
Yeah, shaping up to be a disaster for sure. Here's NPR telling him what he needs to do in this year's State of the Union speech. I think not show up would be step one, and resign before it happens might be a good option as well. But we'll get into depth on this and more, Charles, when we return on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth with Charles Ortel in the First Amendment Forum. Thanks to all the viewer sponsors that make this possible. And we'll see everybody in